Pochettino's Chelsea were being given pelters by the travelling support who were down the south coast yesterday. At the end of the day, Chelsea couldn't overcome Bournemouth. Did you expect them to win this game? I did, man, I must admit. I thought we're going to start seeing what Chelsea can do now.
Yeah, I think that's correct. I think after the international break, you're expecting a revitalised Chelsea to go at it and win down in Bournemouth. They did create a number of chances. They didn't score, didn't take them. Actually, they could have conceded a couple of goals themselves as well too in the game. So it's from Chelsea's viewpoint and from the owner's viewpoint, really disappointing.
Yeah. Simon, I was looking at it.
When you come back after getting beat by Forest at Stamford Bridge, you'd expect a reaction. And then, I watched the game and you're looking at Chelsea going, I don't know what you are. I mean, okay, it's early doors. I do expect him to get it together, and he will get it together because he's a decent coach. But right now you look at Chelsea and you go, well, what is it that you are? There's nothing about you. If you're a Chelsea fan, you must be looking at it going, well, this is uninspiring. It's not particularly engaging. They don't move the ball with any pace. There's no particularly great shape to the side. They lack cutting edge. Blimey, you think?
Yeah.
That was Pochettino's assessment, wasn't it? We lack cutting edge.
This was a Chelsea you said will be up there challenging at the end of the season.
I think they will.
Still?
I may well be wrong this season.
What suggests that?
Well, I just think that if you spent this kind of money and you've got a coach in Pochettino that's capable of operating at a certain level, that you give yourself half a chance. Now, the longer this season goes on, and the less they're getting themselves together, the more that argument loses its lustre. But I don't think it will be too long before Chelsea find something that vaguely resembles a formula, and then the results will come on the back of it.
I mean, should we be surprised, Matt? Fabrizio Romano, hugely respected Italian journalist who's on top of everything, 0-0 against Bournemouth. Chelsea remain with 6 wins in all competition in 2023.
Yeah, but I mean, Pochettino is not responsible for all of that.
No, for sure.
Yeah. So he has taken.
But it's been a steady decline.
He's taken over the side again. We're talking about, what is it? 5 games into the season. I think they picked up 5 points, and it is disappointing. It'll be disappointing for the owner at the moment, and certainly disappointing for the fans. But you would expect to get it together. I was in the same camp as Simon when I thought that they would do better, and I still think that they can. They should be able to pull it round because of But I suppose I'm knocking my own argument here by saying that spending £80 million on a player doesn't mean that player's worth £80 million on the field.
Yeah.
And you have to do something about it. But I'll give them a little bit more time.
Okay. The Chelsea fans at the end of the game were not happy. Many who made the trip decided, no, I'm going to let rip on full time. And they did. Booing everywhere, it seemed, at the end from that Chelsea travelling support area. This was Mauricio Pochettino on that.
I think the fans know. If you invest the money that the people create in the media, okay, yes, it's true. But this is expectation. If you don't win, it's normally the fans are not happy. But the circumstance, what I can tell the fans is the circumstance that we cannot change. The reality we cannot change. We know what we need to do. We are strong in our belief. Bad luck because we have 12 injured, and today, yes, plus Cucurella that you asked me, or Noni, or Caicedo, yes. I'm going to cry. I'm going to complain. Again, who? I need to accept this, the challenge, and keep being positive. We are not going to change in the way that we are going to do the thing. And then we have our opinion, our reality, and if we assess the team under our opinion, our reality, with all the circumstances, I think we are doing very, very, very good things. More than the people can expect.
Simon, I heard you react to that. So did I. I mean, very, very good thing. I like Mauricio Pochettino, as you rightly said, Martin. He's come in at a time that the team, I think, was in decline because they've got new faces. But Simon, if you're Todd Bowley, how do you feel about that in the Times this morning? Boos for the £1 billion team that can't score goals.
Probably getting used to it at the moment. But I don't even know if he was there. But look, there is if you look at their bench, there's not a huge amount offensively on their bench to change the direction that they're going on. But they've still got players in there that most teams would look at as an opportunity. When they've got the boy from Man City, they've just paid 40-odd million quid for sitting on the bench. They've got players on the bench that are decent, but they haven't got anyone that really would change the starting 11. If you look what Chelsea's bench is, but bouncing off the Forest game, with all due respect to Forest couldn't buy a win away from home, and they've beaten Chelsea at home in the last game, and Chelsea's response to that is to go away to Bournemouth another side that you would anticipate that Chelsea would get something from more meaningful than a point. With no disrespect to Bournemouth, who've taken points off Chelsea in a number of different guises, including when Tuchel was there. And you've seen another sort of turgid, uninspiring performance. The fans are going to look at it. Now, this same group of fans were cheering a year ago because they had a new owner, because 3 months prior to that, they thought they weren't going to be in existence. But that's football fans. That's the nature of the beast. They expect to see better from their side. And I expect to see more from Chelsea because, again, I go back to the point. I sat there watching Chelsea and thinking, this is bloody boring. There's nothing about Chelsea that I'm enjoying watching. They were always a slightly mechanical side. They weren't always the most easiest on the eye, besides one of the first seasons that Mourinho had them. But this is really, really pedestrian stuff. And I don't really know why Pochettino needs to tell people that they're doing well in certain situations, because they're not. You've got to call it for what it is.
And I think what it is, Sam is right. What it is way off the pace. It's not good enough. It's not good enough.
Yeah. All I said is that you need a little bit more time, but I agree, absolutely.
£1 billion spend, man. Whereas Bournemouth, God love them, in comes Andoni Iraola, and they made a fist of it. More than that, with Chelsea, they had a go, and they might well have won it. Who's to say they would in any way be disappointed at the end of it with the effort that was put in? And the owner, Bill Foley, Martin, takes my mind back. And this is why we're going to play this. He said, Iraola will give us something different. He said that the sacking of Gary O'Neill might look pretty severe and a pretty tough decision to have made, but we've made it for a reason. And this guy will get our team playing. This was Foley on that.
We have a philosophy: team is first, people are a close second, and management third, way down the list. The management being ownership and management. We respect Gary. We respect his feelings. It was not an easy decision. We just felt that if we were going to be as successful as we believe we can be in this transfer market, and we're going to change the style of football we played, we needed to go a different direction. So I'm not happy about it. I don't feel good about having someone move on from a position within the club, but it was team first. And our plan is to go with this coach and to give him every opportunity to be successful. And if it means at the end of the year, next year, we're relegated because we made a mistake, then I'll live with it. That's reality. But I believe we're going to be successful with this, with Andoni. I really do.
I remember thinking at the time, well, he's not holding back. He's saying it as it is, and those are his reasons, and you have to respect them.
Of course you do, and you respect anybody who's actually done well in business, if that's the case. I do respect that. But he has put management down as third there. I think that's difficult. I spoke to a very, very, very committed man in Dermot Desmond who felt that if he got management right, he's got a lot right. And management was really important because the manager will eventually put the team there to him. You know, that's so. In other words, you're who then? If the team is first and the management's third, who's putting the team together then? If that's, I just totally disagree with that. Totally disagree with this. It's right. We all felt that it was harsh on Gary O'Neill at the time, and we'll see if this is a major change in philosophy, a major change in the way they play. Gary O'Neill was left with a difficult task to try and keep them up, and he did do that. Okay, fine. And it's absolutely and utterly the owner's prerogative to go and do what he wants with the team. Absolutely. But please don't put management third in that list. That would be my concern.
I liked Foley at the time. I like him now.
I think you like somebody that speaks bluntly and with authority and takes responsibility for his actions, as he's prepared to do in the instance of not having had them visited on him yet. It doesn't listen. I can only imagine being as successful as Bill Foley. But it doesn't make a lot of sense because team reflects leadership. And the leader of the team is the manager. So to disconnect them, to say team first, people second, management third, doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And, you know, so I'm inclined to agree with what Martin's saying.
He kind of corrected himself by saying management, I mean ownership.
No, he said ownership. He said ownership. Well, the owner's very, very important because where are the funds going to come from?
Course.
This is the point, you know. So I think he's probably trying to as he mentions management, he's thrown ownership in there alongside that. But what he effectively meant was management, because he, as the owner, changed the manager.
There's only a few clubs you can say that sort of sentiment in, isn't there? I mean, ultimately Bournemouth, to some extent, it's like that expression is that the fans at Bournemouth went mild, because that's the background that they're in.
The thing is, Simon, like you, Foley's made a decision and he's going to stand by it.
And that's right.
It's okay.
And that's right. And as long as he's prepared to stand by the decisions he makes, because at the end of the day, it's going to be him that has the consequences. And that's right. You should be definitely right or definitely wrong, but be definite in what you're doing.
Yeah. He's
made a decision. He wants to own it, and he's going to put himself in the way of it. Now, what we're looking at, and what Martin was right to point on, is the analysis that he's putting forward as the reasons behind his sentiment. And his sentiment is team first, people second, management third. And I'm in agreement with Martin that you cannot build a team without an effective leader. And that leader isn't the chairman. That he's the standard bearer. He's the guy that employs the manager, who becomes the leader, who becomes the person that creates the team.
Well, it's an intriguing one next Sunday, because at 2:00 it's De Zerbi against Iraola as Brighton going against Bournemouth. Chelsea, in the meantime, have got to start cranking it up, and they'll try and do that against Aston Villa. Easier said than done.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.